She was very proud. He had a lot of racial pride about his DNA.
Why would anybody have a racial pride about it? I mean, wow.
Can't imagine.
Taking credit for your ancestors, things
racial
you didn't
pride
do.
is weird. Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing.
Why do you care?
Yeah. Yeah, what do you care about where you come from and your people?
Where you're going.
Yeah.
Earliest, or at the very latest, rather, some of them go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. But the idea that new ideas are absent in the Republican Party is obviously untrue. We have a very strong debate that goes on inside sort of the conservative halls of intelligentsia about what is the appropriate action to take with regard to the medical system. Should global warming be considered a real threat, or should global warming be considered something that technology will solve? And if so, what are the best aspects of solving that? There's a rich
Who's in that conservative intelligentsia, Ben? You and Jordan Peterson? Who
debate
else?
like how best to be the controlled decline opposition.
I mean, it's like
I
think on some level there might these type of conversations might
how
go
hard
on,
do we
but
have
they
to
don't.
cuck to the Democrats? How quickly or slowly should we give them what they want on everything? Healthcare. How can we keep the health insurance industry profitable and happy?
Yeah, how can we prevent the groundswell support for a national solution from ever? How can we pretend that we've done a solution that just keeps the dollars flowing into the health insurance companies?
Intellectual debate on the right about nationalism versus patriotism, for example, or populism versus free marketeerism. That debate is happening on the right to sort of suggest that the right in America is
wait, populism versus free marketism. What?
Oh, so he said so he's basically saying here we have this debate over this Jewish dichotomy.
I'm on the old side of that, so it's not a new idea. I'm against the new idea.
Yeah, no. So he's saying we're having a debate. Yeah, he doesn't tell you which side he's taking. He tells you, the debate's going on with nationalism versus patriotism.
We're trying to stamp it out as hard as we can.
In other words, this little dichotomy between the meaning of these two words that is invented by Jewish intellectuals so that because in America, people have been trained to be patriotic. Right? In fact, the first American revolutionaries were patriots. They call themselves patriots. And traditionally, somebody in America calls themselves a patriot when they have a love of country. Right? Nationalist is a little bit more of a more European kind of word. But I maintain that the two words essentially mean the same thing.
Sure.
And the word, now, someone can nitpick with me on that if they want, but I think it's a discussion without substance.
One of those words can be used to, go fight wars for Israel, and the other is really scary. That's how that breaks down.
Well, yes, one of them was, let's be honest, the word nationalism is scary because it's one of the two words in National Socialism.
Yes.
Let's just be honest with that. That's what's going on, and that's why don't like it. But they feel like if it was patriotic socialism,
is this psychology behind the
dude? What if Hitler had called his party the Patriotic Socialist Party?
Oh God,
Hitler often described himself, at least the word that is translated in his writings is patriot. Quite often throughout Mein Kampf, the NSDAP described themselves as patriots. I mean, patriotic. First of all, the root word there is patriarchy, fatherland.
So, hot take is the boomers going crazy over AOC and socialism is just because they don't want to be national socialists. It's they don't really. It's they're not scared of communism anymore.
That's how is that a hot take? That's literally the narrative, the kind of narrative that Ben has been pushing. Ben and other people have been pushing this. What? Oh, Nazis are leftists. Ben doesn't push that message.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Ben's not doing lively debate. He's doing lively gatekeeping.
Yes, that's exactly. There's a lively debate on how best to gatekeep, and we invented a phony dichotomy between the words nationalism and patriotism, so we can have a fake debate that ends with the side of the people saying patriotism is just redefined as love of neoliberal America and desire to go bomb Muslim countries.
Love neoliberal America.
Patriotism, you don't understand there, Andrew. We've redefined patriotism. We want to go bomb the Middle East on behalf of Israel. That's my.
That sounds more like.
Why is
Ben Cantwell?
I was going to say, why is Cantwell here?
I can't do it. You've got to do it. So
I got to tell you here, we've had this debate as best we can. You got a choice between patriotism and nationalism. We don't know what that means. So and we like it. That's a new idea on the right. We're constantly debating over that over here.
So these. Have redefined patriotism to mean
there's a lively debate in the Republican Party as to whether we need to bomb Venezuela or Iran tomorrow. Yeah. What's it going to
be? Actually, that debate, we know which side's going to win if they had to choose. They don't want to have to choose. They want. You're
right.
Yeah, they want their
little Venezuela girl. I was like, why not both?
Full of ideas. Number one, not all ideas are good ideas. I mean, AOC is pretty good evidence of that. I'm a big fan of some old ideas myself that I think are pretty good. But beyond that, I think that it is
like Book of Deuteronomy, for example.
Like subverting nations, destroying empires.
Like perhaps usury, charging exorbitant interest rates. This is an idea I love.
Intellectual sneering of the highest order to suggest that only the left has new and decent ideas. Are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
God.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree barbaric and suggesting only one side of the political aisle has ideas. So I just want to point out that I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know that broadcasting in America is now so polarized that on one program you only have the left and another one you just have the right. My job is to question those who have strong views and put an alternative to them. If you were an anti-abortion person, I would be putting pro-abortion questions to you, but you are
really. Would you call the pro-choice position?
So why don't you just answer my question,
sir? I'm happy to answer your question. Please answer this one. Would you suggest that a late-term abortion is brutal?
I'm not taking a view on this issue. I'm asking you the questions.
Sir, you just suggested that the pro-life position is inherently brutal and terrible. So I'm asking you, as an objective
That's
journalist,
not what
would
he
you
said.
ask the same question?
Yeah, literally not.
So he starts objecting to the fact that the guy is injecting value judgments into his questions, and then he starts attacking on that angle. But that's a defense mechanism because he's already feeling that he's in troubled waters here because he's not getting his balls fanned about his new book, which is what he wanted to happen.
Right.
He thought he was going to go on and just get his balls fanned about his new book, which is what happens here. Even when he's talking to liberals, and even when he's talking to liberals here, they take his philosophical pretensions seriously. But the thing is with that, like, my response to that question would be like, well, frankly, I'm not sure that those are honest, descriptions of what this law says. And then I would go into some standard boilerplate about why abortion is bad. And no, I don't think it's bad to outlaw it. I mean, the guy would have moved on after that. He wouldn't have continued to press because that's
brutal.
What I'm asking you is that why is it that a bill banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages? What's your answer?
My answer is something called science. Human life exists at conception. It ought to be protected. Now, back to my question.
That's a very bad answer to the question. That's the other thing. It's like, look, maybe the guy's injecting the value judgment of return to the Dark Ages. Now, according to him, he's playing the part of somebody who's an abortion advocate arguing.
Yeah, he should have an answer to this that's not like attack the interviewer.
Do you have an answer for that
I
question?
do. Like, what's darker than killing children?
Yes, there you go.
It has been, and you as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages.
Say that.
Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest? Seriously, it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's move on. Would you vote
I think it's pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are.
Trump? Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016. And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
You're a culture war warrior. Isn't he largely on your side? You wrote once it was unlikely he'd appoint conservative judges to the Supreme Court. He has.
Right.
So you were wrong.
I like many of President Trump's policies, even if I still have serious reservations about his personality and character.
Do you think there's a Democrat who could beat him in 2020?
Sure, I think there are several Democrats who could beat him in 2020.
Who would have the best chance?
I think that Joe Biden is likeliest to beat him, considering that he has significant appeal in a lot of the Rust Belt, in places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the places that President Trump needs to win to retain the presidency. And Joe Biden.
Did you say I think because he's white, he's not a.
Well, that remains to be seen.
Also has a long history in politics, which means that the American people already have sort of a preconceived vision of him. President Trump, as a campaigner, is very good at dragging unknowns through the mud, or at exposing details about people that are previously sort of covered up. But when it comes to Joe Biden, he's been well exposed for a very long time. Most people know him, and he's not nearly as unpopular even going in as Hillary Clinton was in 2016.
So if it was a close race between Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump, you would, from what you say, I think, probably go for Mr. Trump.
Yes, I would vote for Mr. Trump if it were a race between Biden and Trump, because I think that the damage that President Trump has done to the country on a character and rhetorical level has already been done and cannot be undone. I don't see it as getting worse day by day. That is the new status quo, unfortunately. Now the question becomes which policies I would most like to see enacted, and Trump's policy preferences are closer to my own than Joe Biden's.
Feminists that went out, and I know, complain about feminists, but dude, sometimes they truly are atrocious and disgusting.
They're always atrocious. That's why
there are some Christians that had set up like a abortion graveyard, and these feminists went out to protest it, and they like danced around on it, and they were pointing at the little graves for the aborted babies, and like, that one's mine, that one's mine, that one's mine.
That's good optics right there.
I was like, wow.
That's going to bring people to your side.
That's this level of obviously deranged sociopathy is definitely making me feel sympathetic towards you. You're
I also just think it's really brave because like there's literally nobody telling them not to do that. You know,
no, definitely people telling them to. I mean,
there's definitely no like.
Oh no! Don't you get it? Society is sending them the message that they have to be good, feminine housewives and mothers.
I mean, can you imagine?
Society is sending them that message.
I mean, I bet every one of them lost their job now. I mean,
of course, society is telling them to buy Chips Ahoy cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, and believe me, they're buying them with eagerness.
Media, you and others on the left and the right, you position yourselves as supposed tellers of hard truths. But haven't you all just really coarsened public discourse in America and exacerbated its divisions?
Wow.
You know, it's kind of odd to be hearing about me coarsening public discourse when you call policies you disagree with brutal and bringing us back to the Dark Ages, sir.
Oh, God.
It's like, Ben, I gotta say, now at this point, I'm like, have you not caught on to this guy's shtick? This is what he does.
Get over it, Ben. It's time to move on.
It's funny because when I see now what he's doing, that he's like, okay, how do you respond to the act? Now, maybe he could phrase it differently.
Bruce, for this interview, I'm going to pretend that I'm Rachel Maddow.
Yeah.
Try not to get mad.
Exactly.
Try not to get all hot under the kipper.
Better.
Was to put a position for you to reply to it. And I thought we'd cover that. I'll put some of the points too, because on your
characterization of issues is part of the problem in the coarsening of public debate.
Well, maybe it's also part of your problem too, because we have from your YouTube videos, Ben Shapiro destroys the abortion argument. Ben Shapiro destroys transgenderism and abortion. Is that not a kind of coarse public discourse?
Well, are those videos labeled by me?
Clickbait?
I have no idea.
Why are you picking out? Why are you? I have a question. Why are you picking out random YouTube videos put up by people who are not me?
Are you
and then attributing the titles to me?
Are you unhappy with the way they've been described?
Are you denying that you did not
I think that people can describe me however they please. It's a free country, and I'm all in favor of public.
But what about the
debate.
coarsening of debate, there, Ben?
Yeah, I'm sure he does not like being accused of destroying an argument.
Like Ben, the funny thing is, like, I had not watched this whole thing before now. And I'm like getting less and less impressed with Shapiro as it goes on.
He's just like using being mad as a.
It's obvious that he's like that he's rustled, and he's not very smart. He doesn't.
But he talks fast. That's the same thing.
No, it's
smart,
funny.
Right?
It's funny because it's like he doesn't.
Ben Shapiro gases and ovens the anti-abortion.
Yeah, no, but it's like all right, fine, but like he's not catching on to the guy's. What the guy is doing.
Ben Shapiro totally wrecks transgenderism with a pedal-powered brain bashing machine.
Ben Shapiro puts transgenderism on the roller coaster of death. Ben Shapiro electrifies the floor beneath transgenderism. Zaps it. But no,
Ben Shapiro puts socialism in the cattle car to Auschwitz.
Look, don't blame me. It's just public. People can characterize my videos any way they want.
Is that my video?
Well, we should start doing that then. If we can characterize his videos any way we want, we're gonna start making videos like this. Ben Shapiro gasses the left, just like Hitler did.
Actual clips. They are generally civil conversations between me and somebody who disagrees with me.
You say in your new book, you suggest that America's largest struggle at the moment is, quote, the struggle for our national soul. We are so angry at each other right now. And I think that's true. I've just returned from the United States. But aren't you part of the problem with the way you go about your discourse, not the solution?
I think we can all do better in our discourse, but the fact that I've reached out to so many people across the aisle to have conversations with them is pretty evident. The fact that I was willing to walk from a publication
I'm more than willing to talk to on the left about how best to keep the goyim contained within this puppet show we call the kosher sandwich, or they call the kosher sandwich. Like that's true. Like I'm more than happy to talk to Ezra Klein. I'm more than happy. I'm more than happy to talk to well, I don't know, other leftists. I don't know. He really only does.
Michael Lerner. No.
I love having conversations and boy, I love it when I'm interviewed by Dave Rubin and Sam Harris. I love those type of interviews. God. Those are very good ones. But yeah, no, I mean it's funny the fact that Ben just his arguments and his responses aside, the fact that he doesn't pick up on the fact that this guy is giving him hard devil's advocate questions from the perspective of somebody on the left, not necessarily endorsing those positions, is proof that he's dumb. Because at this point, I've picked up on that. Like, maybe I would have gotten thrown by the first question if I was totally unprepared. But if I was going on this guy's interview show, maybe watch a few episodes of him interviewing other people first. If you're Ben, I mean, wouldn't that be worth your time?
Or how about just having answers on about your
That's the other thing.
It's like, how about you just have arguments?